Welcome to Off to Dialogue, and I am pleased to invite you to an interview with Mr. Paul Bunnell. Mr. Bunnell is an independent filmmaker living in California, and in 2011 he finished a feature film he has written, produced, and directed with a little bit unusual title, The Ghastly Love of Johnny X. And in 2023, this year, he brought his feature film to the Super 8 format as a 30-minute Super 8 digest. Well, and this is unique because this is, since decades, the first Super 8 digest with the official permission to print. Before I talk now with Paul about his movie and the Super 8 version, we watch together a trailer of the movie so you can get an idea of what we are talking about.
Jonathan Xavier, inasmuch as you insist on being an outsider and laughing at the rules and traditions of our advanced civilization, I am exiling you to a place which has no adherence to either. I have no choice but to sentence you to Earth.
Thanks, one and all, for staying tuned through that interlude.
I've been in that godforsaken desert for 40 days and 40 nights, all to get away from Johnny and his pack of jackals.
Where is she?
What's up with Johnny? What's he waiting for? We seen planet Earth for what it's worth, but there's other planets to explore.
Flying saucer.
Mickey O'Flynn, the man with the grin, is missing.
Oh my God, I might just faint.
I want to tell the whole world that I'm alive.
How do you think you came back?
I have a message for the people, and I'm in need of a medium.
You'll always be an extra large to me, Mickey.
Yeah, hello Paul, how are you?
Oh, you scared me. Oh, hey, how you doing? I didn't see you there. How's it going? Are you in Germany?
Yes, indeed, and it's dark over here and cold.
Wow. Well, I'm in California. It's a few miles away from Germany, but, we'll just have to suffice.
Okay, Paul, can you tell us a little bit of the story behind your movie, The Ghastly Love of Johnny X?
It's about a bunch of kids, and they are aliens from another planet, from another world. Mm-hmm. And they follow their leader, Johnny X, and he's the leader of the gang. Mm-hmm. And it's like one of those old-fashioned 1950s, motorcycle, high school confidential gang movies. The movie starts where they are on trial, and they get sentenced to one of the worst things that you can imagine. They get sentenced to Earth. So they have to go to Earth because, well, we all know that Earth is not a fun place to be, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So again, they get sentenced to Earth, and then the story kind of picks up 1 year later. Meanwhile, the very thing that got them in trouble, we find out later, is Johnny had a thing that he wore. It was a suit that they referred to as the resurrection suit. And they are looking for the suit because one of the gang members has broken away, and that was Johnny's girl. That's Bliss. And she broke away with the suit, has the suit, and they are in hot pursuit of that suit. They're gung-ho, they're ready to go, you know, and so they're looking for this girl, and Johnny wants that thing back because, you know, without that, let's face it, Earth isn't just, you know, going to be a lot of fun to these guys. So it goes off into different directions, and then another story thread and another one, and we find out that Johnny's motivation is really to find his long-lost father, who would have been a space alien too, right? But he came down to Earth many years previously, and what did he want to do? He wanted to be a rock and roll star. So we have a rock and roll star, Mickey O'Flynn, the man with the grin. But that's it. You know, it's like I said, there's a lot of different elements to the story, and I wanted it to be unpredictable. You weren't sure where it was going to go. Really, what I wanted it to be was an homage to these 1950s and 60s juvenile delinquent kind of things. You know, like The Kids in the Blob or High School Confidential. Teenagers from Outer Space, the 1958 picture, that was an inspiration. You know, I was just trying to keep it simple and fun and light, but contemporary, because here's the thing, the movie does not take place in the 1950s. It's not a true period piece. It's an alternate universe type thing. And so it does take place in an alternate reality that could be in the past, it could be in the present, or it could be in the future. I tried to do things in the movie that would appeal to different sets of, you know, groups of audience members. I would call it a genre buster, to be honest with you. It's kind of a multi-genre film. It's a sci-fi, musical, romance, comedy, fantasy, horror film. And the best one you're ever going to see on Super 8 sound.
Now, 10 years later, you gave the permission for a transfer to the analog home cinema. Everyone can buy now a 30 minutes digest of your movie on Super 8. And you did not only give the permission, you edited the digest by yourself, didn't you? So, how did that happen? Why a Super 8 version?
When Dave came up to me and he asked me, he contacted me, or we contacted each other, and I wanted to actually offer The Ghastly Love of Johnny X for Super 8 because I have a fondness for Super 8. I started as an 11-year-old child collecting Super 8 digest prints of movies, and it just kind of right around that same time, I started making movies. And the earliest films I collected were the Castle films. I got, you know, The Mummy's Ghost and Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein and The Wolfman and all these great movies, right? These were the films that inspired me when I was a kid. And then I got a Super 8 camera, a sound camera, and I started making my own movies. It was thrilling for me. It's kind of like come full circle. Starting with Super 8, making Super 8 movies in the 1970s and 80s, and then making 16 millimeter films in the 90s. And then finally, The Ghastly Love of Johnny X, my first 35 millimeter feature. And now it's coming out on Super 8. So we go back to the beginning, where it all started. Yeah. It's a complete circle. And to me, this is very special. I've licensed the film to Dave Films, so you know he doesn't have to worry. He can sell it anywhere. It's a limited edition of prints. The movie was made on black and white, but I do believe that we both decided we're going to print this on color stock because it looks better. So the Super 8 prints will be on color stock. I've checked an answer print already, a 16 millimeter answer print, and it looks good. So the only thing I needed to do was the movie was shot in anamorphic widescreen. So what I needed to do when I edited the digest was I needed to correct, reposition what you call a pan and scan, basically. So I tried to minimalize it, but basically it's been cropped on the edges. And if something's happening over here, we'll show this part, or if something's happening over here, we show this part. But basically, it's all there. It looks great. You never know it was shot in scope, and I'm really proud of it. I'm excited to see the Super 8 print. I really am.
I mean, especially the editing. I mean, editing a full feature to an abridged version is difficult enough to do for an editor, but for the director himself, it must be very hard to cut so many scenes with all the memories of producing them. So how did you approach that?
I did. I edited the digest version because I knew that nobody knows the movie better than me. And I'll tell you, it was challenging. Dave wanted a 30-minute version. And I'm like, wow, how do you put a 106-minute movie into 30 minutes? I'll be doggone if I wasn't able to do it. Just barely. I put all the things in there. I had to cut a lot out, but it was wonderful.
Wasn't it paid?
I'll tell you, I basically I was ruthless. I mean, I'd like, I got to cut this movie down. I'm going to have to lose some really good things. And sometimes I think in the long cut, the movie was paced slowly. So I intentionally paced it to experience it theatrically on the big screen, right? And I wanted the movie to unfold, the story to unfold very slowly. And the way I directed the scenes, the actors, it's not a rapid fire movie. It kind of takes its time. Okay. So that helped when I was editing the digest, because there's a lot of things in the full movie that go very slowly, but in the digest, it has to go very fast. So when I cut the movie together, I just said, well, I've got to keep the story flow as much as I can, but I'm going to have to lose this, and I'm going to have to lose that, and I'm going to have to lose that. But at the end of it, I got it exactly, including some credits. I got it exactly. You're getting a little bit of everything. Having been familiar with all the digest prints I collected as a kid, I know how they are. And I always remembered seeing certain things when I would see the digest print, and then I would watch the full movie. And I'm like, why did they cut out one little line? That's a great line. Why didn't they have time for one little line? They should have left that in the digest print, but they cut out the strangest things. I didn't do that. I tried to keep the scenes mostly intact, but shorten them. Of course, some of those are not in this digest print. My favorite one is not in the digest print, but it's all there. The whole movie is there from beginning to end. And I like it. I think it came out really well.
So the rhythm has changed at the end also. Well,
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a digest print. So, but it's kind of like a best of. You're getting the best scenes. You're getting the best moments. So I made sure that any highlight of the film is there. All the cast members, all the scenes, a good sampling of the musical numbers, of the best parts of the musical numbers. But otherwise, creating a digest print is not easy, especially when you are the filmmaker, because you are in love with everything you film. And yes, it was very hard for me, but I don't think I would have let anyone else do it, because I wanted to have approval, and I wanted it to come out as my approved version. So has a director ever cut? I don't think a filmmaker has ever cut a digest print for Super 8 before. I mean, certainly not. Because
there are rumors about Steven Spielberg doing Close Encounters, but it's not proved.
I think you're right. And do you know what? I got that digest print when it was brand new. I'll never forget. And I did read about Close Encounters being supervised, the cut by Steven Spielberg. You're absolutely right.
But it wasn't so good. It wasn't that good.
Well, it was a 400-foot reel, if I recall, right?
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
It's 400 feet, and was it great? No. But it was Close Encounters, and you couldn't buy it. There was no such thing as VHS tape back then. You couldn't. So it was so cool to have scenes from the movie and project it up on the screen. And then, Star Wars and all those other things that came out on Digest. I mean, that was cool. I mean, I would show those movies every Halloween on my front lawn. And the kids would stop, and a big crowd of people going, how do you have Star Wars or The Empire Strikes Back or whatever? It was so great. One of my other favorite Digest prints, because it's a guilty pleasure, was Disney's The Black Hole. You remember The Black Hole?
For sure.
1979. I had that Digest print, and that was cool. I mean, it's just so cool to have these things. Man, I had a lot of films. And then I got interested in Laurel and Hardy films and Charlie Chaplin and things like that. But it all started with the Digest prints.
Paul, do you know how many copies of your Super 8 Digest have already been sold yet?
No, actually, I don't know the exact number, but I know that Dave has told me that there are a lot of pre-orders. So people are curious about the film. And so I get a copy too. So I haven't received my copy as of the recording of this video, but I'm excited to get it. And have you ordered a copy?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, well, guess what? For everyone who we're only going to, I told Dave that you could put however many you want to sell, but for the first 30, I'm going to include this right here.
Wow, that's awesome.
I don't know if you can see that there.
That's awesome.
I've signed it. Okay, so you see how it says it's number 1 of 30 here?
Well, that's like a piece of art, isn't it?
Well, and I wrote something on here, and I'm gonna read it to you. It says I began collecting Super 8 films in 1974 and later began making my own movies. I never would have guessed that all these years later, I would go back to Super 8 with a brand new 30-minute digest version of my 35mm theatrical feature. I would like to thank Dave Films for believing in my movie, and most especially to you for supporting Dave's vision by purchasing this limited edition print. Enjoy the show. Paul Bunnell, June 21st, 2022. That was originally supposed to be our release date. That's why I put that date. I put that date right there.
Okay.
But these are signed by me. So this signature here is mine. It's number 1 of 30. I get number 1 because I get the first print. But when you get your print, you're going to get one of those too. So
it's awesome.
So this is exciting. So I wanted to do something special because it means a lot to me that my movie, my 35mm movie, gets to be on Super 8 as a digest. It's so cool. It's so cool.
I hope it will be a big success in the community. Well, Paul, we are now at the end of the talk, and there is one last question I would like to ask. This is always the same last question to my interview partners. What does Super 8 means to you?
Super 8 for me is my childhood. And Super 8 for me today, I look at it fondly, and it's still kind of magical. Because when I thread up the projector and I put a Super 8 film on, whether it's something that I made or a digest print, it brings me back to that time in my life when I was very young and I had all the dreams and all the wishes of wanting to be a movie maker. And when everything seemed so new, and getting to watch these movies in my room, on the screen, in the dark, showing them to my friends, it's basically magical. It truly is the beginning. It represents the beginning of things for me. So I love Super 8. I love it, and I'm so thrilled that we get to make this, have this release. So I want to thank Dave at Dave's Films, and I want to thank you for interviewing me and for having me on your show. I sincerely appreciate it.
Yeah, very fun. Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much for this interview, for investing your time for this interview. And I wish you all the best, that many, many more people can watch Johnny X, and a lot of success with your next movie you're planning now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And if I'm ever in Germany, haha.
We have a beer. We have a beer.
Nice. All right, my friend.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So, here I am again. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Mr. Paul Bernal. He's a nice guy, isn't he? And if you are now interested in buying your personal copy on Super 8 material of Johnny X, you can order them with Steve Osborne in the US or Dave Baker from Dave Films. And I suppose it is about $375 US per print. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope we will see each other again in 2 weeks on Off 2 on YouTube. Have a good day.